Hello everybody, my name is Waddles and today is the day. It is finally just about time to complete the city for good. Welcome to the Amazing City Build Series, Episode 6, the finale episode. There will be a world download link down in the description. Throughout this series, I've gone through some of my best 1.13 building tips. Each episode had its own theme and focus. Throughout the series, the city has continually improved, and today the city will finally finish off. As always, if you enjoy this video, drop a like and subscribe. If you love what I do, consider becoming a channel member or even a patron. Each of those has its own special perks and benefits which you might be into. So a recap really quick before we jump into the content today. Last episode we worked on bridges and talked about paths. We also did the stable over here and the animal pen over there in the back of the town that you can't really see right now. Like I usually do, there will be a card on screen now, I won't forget this time, and you can jump over to the last episode. On the end slide will be the series playlist, so if you missed the series and maybe this is your first episode, I advise you catch up on the other videos first. So, on to today's episode. The style of this episode is going to be a little different than all of the other ones so far. We're going to basically do a walkthrough of the town and just improve things that haven't been finished quite yet. I'll be dropping random tips throughout the whole video. Now, first off, right at the entrance of the town, we have an unfinished checkpoint area. I had planned on doing some kind of entry checkpoint at this town here, so I think that's what we'll throw in. I'm going for basically two small, simple little buildings, and this building is going to be partially buried in the ground, actually, so that'll be kind of cool. I think we will, of course, stick with the rest of the build theme in this town, but I'd like to pull in some white wool here. I think white wool would look really nice on the side of this building. So, pretty straightforward build. We'll just do spruce wood on the floor on the inside and then some stone stairs on the outside for a roof. Lots of white walls to really fit that whole European or medieval style that we were going with in the city here. And oh man, I really cannot wait until 1.14 releases and we get those wonderful, wonderful mossy stair variants. The moss stairs are they're just so nice and will help make roofs even better. But for now, I think something like what I have here is going to be just about perfect for these small builds. Maybe we get some panes in here, of course, to make this more of like an entry booth and less of just a, a build missing a wall. So I think that looks a lot better. And of course, you can't forget a chair on the inside of these things for whoever works here to sit and watch the people coming into the town. Now, one tip that I didn't really talk about when we were doing the road last episode is spreading your road out of your town a little bit. So, my town technically ends right here at these two buildings, but I will go ahead and take the road out a little bit more of a ways into this field, and I recommend doing this to get around that abrupt end that would happen if we just stopped the road right here. As you can see here, I am barely continuing the road out, and even something small like this will help your road and your town feel a little less abrupt. Instead of just a sudden line here, we have a small taper off into the field. If you were actually using the land around the outside of your towns, I would advise you continue the road out into that area, but we're not really doing anything over there. So I think the entrance looks good now, but one thing that we can go and do in here is definitely add some hay bales around in the town to make it feel like, there's something going on here. Maybe some trade, maybe just more decoration, just life, basically. Now, approaching over here, we have a really empty area here, and I don't like that. I think we should pick maybe one flower type to sprinkle around the town, and that type will actually be the poppy. I think the red will tie in with the red over there really nicely, and I think poppies just look nice. I love that vanilla feel, the old feel, too, of Minecraft. Who remembers when there were just, like, 4 flowers, basically? I don't know. I have basically a bias for these old flowers. Now, I'll go ahead and add in some fence railings where there could be, a potential steep fall just to keep the town safe, I guess. And then I'll continue marching around the town and spreading in some flowers here and there. I think it's definitely time we can remove some of my house markers as well, and the hay bales as well. This is another steep hill, so maybe I'll do like a little fence wall. I recommend placing these fence walls in from time to time in your town because it'll add a little bit more detail. You don't even really need a steep drop. We could do a fence wall over here just to kind of hold the path, right? Keep the path moving around this way. It's basically just a small touch of detail that I think makes things look nice. The big thing here when finishing up a town and doing details like this is consistency. Pick something like a flower or a hay bale or something and spread it around the town consistently. Don't just do, a bunch of flowers in one pocket and then say, oh, okay, I'm good. Because that will create areas like this where we have nothing and that looks completely unfinished. So if we add a little bit of fencing in here along the path and then maybe some piles of hay just kind of sitting around, maybe this one's a little larger, and then finally some flowers in here. This corner just got finished up and it looks a whole lot better than it did just a moment ago. If you haven't done so yet, make sure your paths actually reach up to your buildings. That will help a lot as well. And of course, make sure all of your interiors are nice and finished. Now, you don't need to pick only one flower variant like I'm doing. I'm just doing one flower variant because that's what I want, but maybe pick 3 or 4. I wouldn't, do a billion though, because then you'll start to get an explosion of color, and that maybe isn't the best thing. Color can be really nice, but when used in excess, it can look really, really random and just not as put together as a consistent color theme would look. One thing that I absolutely love to do, too, when decorating up my towns is chests. If you throw random chests around the town, that's, of course, an area to store things if you're using your city as more of a survival base, but it will also give a little bit more depth and detail to your town. Usually, when you think of a medieval town, you would imagine items and things being stored around on carts. Since we don't really have carts that we can make nice and small, chests will do the job perfectly. If you have an empty area in your town like I have over here, maybe try filling in some crops as well. Doing hay bales and flowers all over your town is nice, but it might start to get a little repetitive. When adding in these little planting areas, just do random shapes. You don't need to fill everything in perfectly. So maybe a random plot here and then one over here along the water that we can see from the road. When planting crops in here, try creating a variation of crops. Instead of all potatoes or all wheat, maybe we mix potatoes and wheat together to get more of an interesting feel and, of course, a more decorative vibe here. So something like that, but of course you'll need to let this grow up. And through the use of wonderful commands, we can speed grow this stuff just like this to see what this would end up looking like. I think this looks really nice and is definitely a lot more decorative than all potatoes or all wheat. One thing that I have kind of neglected in this town is lighting. Don't forget to run around your town and either do lampposts or just basic little torch holders or something. Something to keep the creepers and the zombies and skeletons, but mainly creepers, away. Having your build blown up when it's just about finished is not a fun feeling at all. And this is another area where I say I can't wait for 1.14. I'm not a huge fan of torches, but in a medieval build, torches actually work very, very well. But once 1.14 comes out, we will have lanterns, and lanterns are beautiful and amazing, and you can never say anything bad about a lantern, so just don't try. The lanterns are really, really nice. Now, we have this empty area. This is meant to be a little town square. Originally, I had planned for an enchanting gazebo here, and then a little bit of like a shop marketplace. I think I'm going to switch the gazebo idea for a fountain, and then we'll build some small stables or stalls over here for like a trading area. Fountains are really fun to do. Usually I'll start with a basic circle, so something like this. Then I'll go ahead and fill a bunch of water in and see what it looks like. If I'm content with it, then I'll try and make something popping up in the middle. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let's say we do this and then dump some water on the top, and boom, that is a perfect fountain. Let's go ahead and create some variation around the edges just to make the fountain look a little more detailed. And then, of course, the bottom is grass, and that's really not going to cut it. I think swapping the grass out for stone will do fine, so we'll do that. And then we should have a perfect little fountain. Yeah, I think that's nice. That's all we really need, a nice small fountain. Now, some stalls. When I say stalls, I am talking something kind of like what we did over there in the animal pen, but for people, not for animals. So we'll start off by kind of marking out where I think I could put some. Maybe one could go in here as well, and then we'll pick our colors. The colors that I think I want to use are blue, green, and red, but maybe I'll change those after I start getting things in. So we have our back corners marked just like this. I'll place a fence on both of those and then go one block out forward and do 3 high with fences as well. That's almost it. Now we'll go ahead and place a line of white wool on one side, and then another line of white wool on the other side, and then a stripe down the middle. This one will be blue, and this should be a perfect little stall. Yep, that's perfect. After placing one in, you may find that you need to readjust the placement of the other ones, but that's pretty easy to do. Just move stuff around as you need to. So there we go. We actually have our 3 stalls in, and I think that looks really, really nice. Of course, let's go ahead and place some gates on the back for some support, and then 2 more gates on the side like that. So everything looks nice and strong, and then, of course, we need something inside of all of these stalls to be sold, right? So let's say maybe the blue one will be the magical enchanting one. We'll do like an ender chest sitting there and then an enchanting table. Maybe the red one can be some kind of furnace one, so we'll just place a furnace and a chest. And then over here, this could be like a crafting merchant. So crafting table, and then maybe we do a double wide chest back there. Something like that, I think, kind of looks nice. Now, of course, this doesn't look like a frequented town area, so we'll need to rough up the terrain. That can be done very, very easily with coarse dirt, podzol, normal dirt, of course, paths and brown concrete powder. There are so many options, so just try switching up the ground a little bit, and that's what I'm going to do here, of course, to make this look like a busy, busy area. It's totally up to you if you want to continue your path into a town square area. Usually I don't, though. I think it just kind of creates a large, weird-looking path area. So instead, I'll leave a lot of grass in here and just place blocks down as if this were a road, but it's not quite. It's just a worn-out area. Don't forget to terraform and decorate up any ponds that you may have in your town. And a really cool trick that I haven't talked about yet in the series is these wonderful soul sand and magma blocks. You can create some bubble streams in your ponds by placing these blocks down randomly. They don't really do anything, of course, because we're not like swimming in here or, trying to move things, but they'll add these bubble textures, and I think that looks really, really nice. Overall, the final tip that I can give you for finishing up and polishing up your town is just walking loops around your town and adding things in. So I went around the town first and did hay bales and flowers, then I did chests, then I went around and did fences. Pick a random block, walk around your town, and try placing it down. You should realize pretty fast if it's working or if it's not quite working. Remember to fill in areas behind your builds as well, just to make your town feel even more complete. And then, last but not least, if you're in survival or if you're in creative, get some people living inside of your village. Otherwise, things are going to be pretty boring. So let's just drop a lot of villagers in this town and say these are the inhabitants. Of course, in survival, this is a little more tricky because you'll need to actually bring villagers here. But in creative, I would say this is pretty easy. Overall, the secret to building a really good city is experimentation. Try things out. Try placing hay bales around your town and maybe you'll like it. Try switching blocks around on your roof and maybe your roofs will look more detailed. And of course, don't forget the area around your town. If I were doing this in survival, I would probably do even more of the area around my town because some of it is a little plain and boring looking, but I'm fairly happy with how this town ended up. And so I think that is where we will end this series, right here today. If you followed the series from start to end, big thank you to you. I hope you guys have learned something through this series. This was something different for me, and I'm glad I tried it. I had a lot of fun making this series. But I don't have any kind of better way to end this thing than saying good luck. Go out into your world and try new things. Eventually, you'll figure out a build style that fits you perfectly. My name is Waddles. This has been the Amazing City Build Series for 1.13.2. Keep your eyes out for a brand new survival series from me once 1.14 releases, and more city build series and other things from me in the future. Goodbye, everybody. Go have a good day.